जग वालों से जब अपना हिस्सा मांगेंगे, हम मेहनत कश जग वालों से जब अपना हिस्सा मांगेंगे। एक खेत नहीं, एक देश नहीं, हम सारी दुनिया मांगेंगे।
Free the workers now! Free the workers now! My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with United Public Workers for Action. This is an international struggle. The attack on the Maruti Suzuki workers, their jailing, is not just about them. It's about the democratic rights of all workers around the world. The right to organize, the right to oppose oppressive conditions. And they had slave-like conditions in this factory. The Modi government, the capitalists in India do not want the workers to have unions. They don't want them to organize. This is an international protest, and we have support here from unions, rank and file people, and the San Francisco Labor Council. And we're also going to have a link directly from Gurgaon of a worker who is going to issue solidarity statement with us and with the international campaign to free the Maruti Suzuki workers.
Free the workers now! Free the workers now!
Our next speaker is Alan Benjamin, and he has a statement from the San Francisco Labor Council.
As you all know, the April 4th, yesterday, and today, April 5th, were selected by the Maruti Suzuki Workers Union to be both days of action in support of the fight for freedom for the 13 Maruti Suzuki workers who were imprisoned, got sentenced to life imprisonment, and to 4 others who were sentenced to 5 years in prison. The actions were very broad on the 5th, called by the Maruti Suzuki Workers Union, and we're going to hear in a few minutes from one of the leaders of the Provisional Working Committee of the Maruti Suzuki Workers Union, who will give us a report on what's happened on April 5th, today. It's already midnight in India, what occurred throughout the day in India. The action was called by the 10 main trade union federations in India. There's also an important statement that I'll read just a brief excerpt from. It's a call to action It's the joint trade union statement of April 3rd by Zenroren, one of the union federations in Japan, the CGT in France, the New Trade Union Initiative in India, and the KCTU Federation in Korea. It says, in part, release the Maruti Suzuki 13 now. We join our forces on April 4th and 5th through actions at our workplaces, factories, and offices of Suzuki, and at offices of the Indian governments and embassies and consulates, in solidarity with the 13 convicted comrades and all workers of Maruti Suzuki and members of the Maruti Suzuki Workers Union through a worldwide protest, demanding that 1, the government of the state of Haryana withdraw its prosecution in Maruti Suzuki case immediately and ensure the immediate release of the 13 workers, that Maruti Suzuki India Limited reinstate all 2,000 workers dismissed in July, August 2012, and the government of India ensure the protection of trade union and democratic rights under Indian law and international covenants. We got statements and photographs from actions in Ludhiana, Punjab, Bihar State, Kaital in the state of Haryana, Gurgaon in Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Rudrapur, Delhi, and across Haryana and West Bengal. As many of you may know as well, the San Francisco Labor Council adopted a resolution last Monday night calling for the immediate release of the Maruti Suzuki workers for funding demanding that the Indian authorities provide financial compensation for all the wrongfully convicted workers. The issue of funding for these families who lost their jobs, were blacklisted, is a major one. And finally, it calls on the California Labor Federation for concurrence with this resolution, and it gives us an opening to take this campaign where it should be in the heart of the labor movement, UAW and others, which should be taking a position. We're going to make sure that they do. I'm going to be calling right now the interpreter for the leader of the Maruti Suzuki Workers. Yes, we have a question. If the brother from the Workers Union could just give us a little bit of an update on what occurred yesterday and what occurred today across India. We'd be happy to hear this report.
Okay, I am with Comrade Jitender, who is also leading member of Provisional Working Committee, Maruti Suzuki Workers Union. And this Provisional Working Committee, Maruti Suzuki Workers Union, called for All India Protest Day and Global Solidarity Day yesterday and today, 4th and 5th April. So I translated to Jitender. He will respond in Hindi, which I will translate back again.
Okay.
बोल रहा है कि कल और आज देश भर में कहाँ पे किधर प्रदर्शन हुआ. Hello.
Yes, hello. Greetings and solidarity from all of us here in San Francisco. We're gathered in front of the Indian consulate. We'd like to report, if you could give us, please, on the actions taking place on the 4th and 5th of April that you know of across India.
Okay. सबसे पहले तो मैं सभी साथियों को लाल सलाम कहना चाहूँगा कि जो आपने हमारे सपोर्ट में वहाँ पे जो है प्रस्ताव पारित किया कल, और इंडिया में कल और आज दोनों मिला के काफी अच्छे प्रोग्राम रहे. कल जो है 17 पॉइंट पे और 17 अलग अलग राज्यों में और 34 जगह जो है भारत के अंदर प्रोटेस्ट हुए, और आज भी देश के अलग अलग बड़े बड़े शहरों में जो है प्रोटेस्ट हुए. और जो ये प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे हैं देश में तो हो ही रहे हैं, देश के बाहर भी जो लोग प्रोटेस्ट कर रही हैं उनकी खबरें लगातार हमारे पास पहुंच रही हैं, और हम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करते हैं अलग अलग देश में जिन्होंने हमारे लिए प्रोटेस्ट किया. और ये खबरें लगातार हम जो हमारे साथी जो जेल में बंद हैं 13 साथी, उन तक लगातार ये खबरें पहुंचा रहे हैं, और लगातार वो भी सभी लोगों का धन्यवाद कर रहे हैं. Comrade, so I translate it.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please translate. Thank you.
So yes, Comrade Jitender is saying that first of all he wants to put the red salute to all of you, and as the San Francisco Labor Council passed the resolution in support of Maruti workers that inspired the workers here as well. For that he is grateful to you, and the protest demonstration that you are arranging there, it is also quite inspiring. Yesterday in 17 states of India and in more than 35 cities, protest demonstrations took place, which covered all the major cities of India. And today also there were similar number of protest demonstrations across India, and also in Gurgaon, both yesterday and today, there were major demonstrations where Maruti workers took part. And also we are getting information that in different parts of the world, in solidarity with the Maruti workers, there are protest demonstrations and solidarity actions. So Jitender is saying that the Maruti Provisional Committee is passing all this information to the comrades who are now inside jail, the 13 workers who got life imprisonment. And it is also quite inspiring for them as well. So he also at the end passed the wished like solidarity or unity of working class, both in India as well in different parts of the world, so that the struggle can be carried on.
Thank you. Do you want to ask any questions, or we'll pass the microphone to different people if you would interpret for our comrade, member of the Workers Union, the different statements. We're going to pass the microphone around, if that would be okay.
Yes, this is Steve Zeltzer with United Public Workers for Action, and we're happy to have this really international action here in San Francisco with you, and the importance of U.S. workers supporting the struggle to defend the Maruti Suzuki workers. We're connected internationally. We need to act internationally. So we would like for you to talk about the conditions of these workers. We understand that not only have these workers been jailed for life, the 13 workers, but also over 100 workers were imprisoned for 2 years. Talk about the kind of repression that workers who are trying to build a union at the Maruti Suzuki plant face. What are the conditions, and how have you been fighting back and trying to organize?
बोल रहे हैं कि क्या स्थिति था मारुति प्लांट के अंदर और किस तरीके का दमन था जिस कारण से ऐसा आंदोलन चलाना पड़ा। मारुति सुजुकी इंडिया लिमिटेड में मजदूर का शोषण शुरू से ही था। 2006 के अंदर जब हमने मारुति में ज्वाइन किया था, तब जो आम वर्कर की जो सैलरी थी वहाँ गुड़गांव के अंदर वो 6,000 से 7,000 रुपए थी, लेकिन जब हमने टेक्नीशियन के पद पे वहाँ पे ज्वाइन किया तो हमें 28 रुपए मिलते थे, और लगातार 3 साल कड़े मेहनत से ट्रेनिंग हमने कंप्लीट की। हमें जो है बहुत ही कम पैसे उस समय दिए जाते थे अगर तुलना की जाए और दूसरी ऑटोमोबाइल कंपनियों की, और वहाँ पे जो है काम का प्रेशर इतना ज्यादा था कि बाथरूम तक जाना वहाँ पे बहुत पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता था, और जो काम का इतना ज्यादा प्रेशर था कि बहुत ज्यादा प्रेशर था। छुट्टियां नहीं मिलती थी मजदूरों को। कोई अगर किसी दिन बीमार हो जाता था, कोई उसको कोई प्रॉब्लम हो जाती थी, तो अगर वो थोड़ा बहुत भी अगर काम नहीं कर पाता उसको कंपनी से जो है वापस घर भेज जाता था। और मतलब इतने ज्यादा बर्डन में उस समय मजदूर मार्शल प्लांट में उस समय काम करता था। इसी शोषण के खिलाफ में जब हमने जो है एकजुट होने के लिए, अपनी यूनियन बनाने के लिए, जो कि हमारा लोकतांत्रिक अधिकार है, हमने जो कोशिश की, और मारुति मैनेजमेंट ने लगातार जो है इस यूनियन को रजिस्ट्रेशन होने से रोका गया, और पूरा उन्होंने साफ कर दिया था कि वो माइनिस्टर प्लांट में कोई यूनियन नहीं बनने देना चाहेंगी। और लगातार स्ट्रगल के बाद में हमने ये यूनियन का रजिस्ट्रेशन हम करा पाए, और यूनियन का रजिस्ट्रेशन कराने के तुरंत बाद हमारा यूनियन अधिकारियों का पहला टारगेट था कि जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर है उनको स्थायी किया जाए। स्थायी काम पे जो है स्थायी वर्कर होना चाहिए। इसी मांग को लगातार हमारी यूनियन के जो नेता है उन्होंने मैनेजमेंट के सामने रखा, और यूनियन की लगातार इसी बात को रखते हुए मैनेजमेंट ने सोचा कि ये तो बिल्कुल इक्वलिटी हो जाएगी, ना कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा ना परमानेंट होगा। तो उन्होंने जो है फिर 18 जुलाई 2012 को इस घटना को अंजाम दिया, और बिल्कुल एक वर्ग संघर्ष की तरह यहाँ की जो जुडिशरी है, यहाँ की जो अदालत है, बिल्कुल वर्ग क्लास वार के हिसाब से इन्होंने जो है ये डिसीजन दिया है। जो हमारे जो 13 साथी हैं उनको जो है उम्र कैद की सजा सुनाई है। Hello, so I translate it. Hello.
Yes, thank you. Please do translate for us. Thank you.
So I translate it. The Maruti plant, which was established here in 2006, which started its production in 2006, it had abysmal situation of work, like in the labor process, in the shop floor. The intensity of work was too much. The workers were not allowed even to go to the toilet, to drink water, and it was in inhuman working condition. And simultaneously the wage was so low, it was almost near the minimum wage at that time. Compared to other automobile industry, both the salary and the inhuman working condition and dignity of work, these issues were so serious that workers demanded their union to have the right of collective bargaining. But the management did not allow it. In 2011, the workers had to have 3 strikes. After that, they achieved their union. They got their union registered, but the management was hell-bent to crush the union. And that is why 18 July 2012, a kind of clash took place where the management tried to victimize the workers. Before that event, the main demand of the workers were the permanency of contract workers. In India, contract workers have been employed in many factories, also in Maruti, in a major number, particularly to break the unity of workers. But here in Maruti, from the very beginning, the union body demanded the permanency of contract workers and emphasized on the unity of permanent and contract workers. Thus, after 18 July 2012, when the management goons attacked the workers and the management goons had a clash, and the conspiracy was made to victimize the workers, the Maruti workers see this event as part of a class war which is going on still now. Still now, the management, judiciary, government want to terrorize the workers as part of this class war against the working class so that the workers' movement can be crushed. And this repression has continued for last 5-6 years in this belt, and this incident of punishing the Maruti workers, giving them life sentence, is a symbolic act to terrorize and criminalize workers' movement.
Maruti Suzuki Workers!
Free the Maruti Suzuki Workers! Free the Maruti Suzuki Workers!
A question pertaining to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who made the touchstone of his Make in India campaign an insurance to investors that the Indian state would secure for foreign exploiters a continuous supply of cheap labor. And in fact, we have the information that Maruti Suzuki in Manazar, no less than in Gurgaon in Haryana state, opened production in Gujarat in 2017.
Actually, in 2000, the incident, initially the Maruti plant with the government threatened that they would shift their production. But what they did, they increased their capacity in Manesar. Now there are 4 plants of Maruti Suzuki in Gurgaon Manesar industrial belt where the workers are struggling. Now in last few years, to deal with the abnormal working condition that you mentioned, like 1 car in every 50 seconds, 60 seconds. So basically, now the 5 plants of Maruti Suzuki, they formed a federation, Maruti Suzuki Mazdoor Sangh. That is a federation of all the Maruti plants in Gurgaon Manesar industrial belt. There are 6 plants of Maruti Suzuki under this federation now. And if there is a new plant in Gujarat or elsewhere, they will try to expand their reach of the federation to that plant as well. The collective demand is now to improve the working condition, to increase the salaries, to the betterment of situation of workers and so on. So the struggle that was led by the 13 workers who are in jail with life imprisonment, that struggle is going on. And it is quite important to mention that in last 5 years, when the Maruti workers were in jail, the relentless struggle has significantly improved the working condition of Maruti workers. The cycle time has increased. The workers has got more facilities in terms of working condition and as well as salaries. And also the permanent and contract workers have improved their situation with the help of the struggle of union. So, in spite of severe repression, the workers have relentlessly fought against oppressive working condition and other form of repression, and the struggle is still going on.
Okay, well, thank you from all of us. We will continue at your side, and for now we say goodbye. Thank you. Solidarity. And thank you for staying up till midnight to hear our message and to bring your solidarity.
That Workers of the world, unite.
Workers of the world, unite! Workers of the world, unite! Workers of the world, unite!
Our next speaker is also involved in an international struggle to defend the Uber drivers around the world, Lyft drivers. Welcome, Edward Escobar. Welcome to the rally today in solidarity with the Maruti Suzuki workers.
All right, thank you, Steve. What we're experiencing here is basically globalized abuse of workers. It happens constantly. Uber has 1.5 million workers globally and growing, okay? Rideshare industry is huge. Ola, which is India's version of Uber, is also there, and they use and abuse their workers as well. They have to compete, I guess, in their minds to squeeze the middleman or the little man out of existence, but basically to just get a warm body to drive these cars, and so they can make their profits. Uber basically sets the wrong tone for how workers should be treated. You know, they call them independent contractors, but we're treated less than employees with less than minimum wage. So you could see this type of constant violation of workers' rights is something that even the technology that exists in Silicon Valley is promoting. It's coming from the US and saying, you know what, it makes it okay to use and abuse folks by using technology. It's not the case, it's not acceptable. So we do unite in solidarity with the Maruti Suzuki workers, because it is something that if we stay silent, we are giving our implied consent that it's okay. And if we unite on the common cause that workers' rights and human rights are significant above profits, and that corporations do not have a right to put profits before people. And this is happening not just over in India, not just in other major countries, but here in the US. And we are the corporate giants of the world. So we need to start to send that strong message from here to the rest of the world that not in our names, this will not be allowed to continue to happen without us exposing them and bringing transparency to their actions. Workers' rights is what it's about. Workers' rights, what it's about. Workers' rights is what it's about. And we are here in support of the Indian workers, the Maruti Suzuki workers. So anyone who drives a Suzuki should actually be really concerned too, because there are a lot of Suzuki vehicles that are out here in the US. And it is unfortunate that they've chosen to take that stance, because they export their needs for work to other countries, just as US does it, so they can use and abuse the workers for the benefit of the bottom line corporations' profits. This is something that's not acceptable, but yet it goes on and on and on and on. And we have the duty, we have the charge and the responsibility to say something and speak up and have our voices heard across the globe. We just spoke with our brothers here in India. They support us, we support them, and we are reaching out each and every day in every way possible. Yesterday, we spoke at the Martin Luther King event, and he was about a dream, and he had a dream about humanity. But he understood that workers' rights also went hand in hand with human rights. Labor violations that occur, of course, we have to stand up together, because bottom line is people are being violated. People are not benefiting from this type of egregious violations that are occurring. So we stand in unity. I am with the Alliance for Independent Workers. I founded that organization. I am a driver for Uber, Lyft, as well as Silverride, other companies. I've driven with 9 different companies. Now, all of that exposure tells me that there's a lot of need for workers' rights. And it's unfortunate, because you would think in today's day and age that these kinds of things would work themselves out just naturally. It's not the case, because we as drivers have fallen asleep at the wheel. And it's damaging to public safety, because we have workers' exhaustion, we're overworked, and we do not receive not even minimum wage. So you can see violation after violation. They're all human rights violations. These are all excessive. These are all things that don't have consideration for the basic needs for humans. We're talking about sustainability. We need to work on a business model globally where everyone wins, where everyone can have a sustainable means to continue in their life. And what we're looking at here is a process that we are committed to continue to fight this fight, and it's something that we will not give up.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. I'm speaking for myself for taking aim, and in response to the demand that we defend and mobilize on behalf of the workers who are being persecuted in India. Sisters and brothers, the life sentences imposed by an Indian court are an emblem of the brutal conditions that define the waking hours of working people in sweatshop plants across India. No small part of this legal terror are the lesser charges arising from the frame-up. These are designed to silence worker voices of protest against brutal conditions that are a touchstone of daily routine at Maruti Suzuki and torment workers exploited by transnational corporations operating globally in the capitalist world. In India, brothers and sisters, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the touchstone of his Make in India campaign an assurance to investors that the Indian state would secure for foreign exploiters a continuous supply of cheap labor. Everything flows from the subordination of state power to foreign capital, notably the reign of terror administered through state and legal institutions that serve as an enforcement arm on a daily basis. When Suzuki Motor Corporation announced to its shareholders that SMC controls 50% of India's passenger vehicle market, it went on to boast, brothers and sisters, that the profits extracted from the sweat and blood of oppressed workers yield profitable exports of unprecedented growth in a further 125 countries. 125 countries. As a result, Suzuki has surpassed rivals Toyota and Nissan in 2016, who are determined to replicate life under Suzuki for their own brutalized workforce, which is unfolding as we speak. This is the dynamic of persecution and frame-up and the meaning of the persecution of the Maruti Suzuki 13. The staged fire and the terror that has followed are in their own way a measure of ruler panic, whose ruthlessness is a step too far, an incitement and a survival summons to worker resistance. The rebellion of the damned was seized upon the arrogant proclamations of Maruti Suzuki in Manasar, no less than in Yogaan in Haryana state, which opened production in Gujarat in 2017 by boasting of a production schedule of 1.5 million cars a year, or one car every 12 seconds. Maruti Suzuki was rewarded by Fortune magazine, who proclaimed it one of India's, quote, most admired companies, unquote. While English language channel NDTV designated Maruti Suzuki, quote, 2016's car manufacturer of the year. Sisters and brothers, the ruined lives of the enslaved once fueled the reckless braggadocio of a Marie Antoinette, whose response to the starving was, let them eat cake. Workers across the length and breadth of India have responded, as did the abandoned of the earth who gave us the French Revolution. Raise the banner of resistance high, brothers and sisters, here and everywhere. Chalo Minasar.
This rally today is part of an international campaign, and what we have to say also is that immigrant workers in the United States are being repressed as well. This government, the Trump government, the capitalist government, along with the Democrats, have forced millions of workers out of the United States. They blame workers for the economic crisis in this country. They're scapegoated. So our enemies are not the immigrant workers, the Indian workers, the many millions of immigrant workers in this country, but it's the capitalist bosses and corporations like Suzuki, like Apple, and these big companies who exploit workers all over the world and pit them against each other. We need to unite workers in the United States with workers in India, with workers in Guatemala, with workers in Korea, in China, in every country. We're fighting the same companies, we're fighting for the same capitals, and as a matter of fact, the U.S. government, like the Modi government in India, want to take away all democratic rights. They want to crush unions here. They want a union-free environment. And that's exactly what's going on in India. They're crushing the union because they want slave labor. They don't want the workers to have any rights. When the brother here said from India that they don't have the right to go to the bathroom, these workers, auto workers in India at Suzuki, Maruti Suzuki, don't have the right to go to the bathroom. What does that say? Not only about worker rights, but human rights. That workers don't have the right to go to the bathroom. This is slave labor. This Modi government, backed by the United States, wants slave labor for workers. They don't want democratic rights. That's why we're here today. We're here for the unity of workers. We're here for the freedom of the jailed 13 Maruti Suzuki workers. We're demanding their freedom. And we're also saying that we will build international working class solidarity, that the government of India is not going to be able to get away with this. All workers are going to know about this, and we're going to continue this campaign.
I just want to say that, of course, it's not that workers' rights are like human rights. Workers' rights are human rights. Most of the people of the whole world are workers, or unemployed workers, or children who are going to be workers when they grow up, or are poor and don't have a job, but if they had one, they're a worker. That's most of the human family. And yet, in this world, 8 billionaires, 8 capitalists own wealth that is equal to, no, it's not equal to, it's greater than half of this working class human family. Half of all human beings have less wealth than 8 billionaires. That's what this system breeds. That is why there are no human rights, because human rights are in conflict with profit. If the half of humanity that owns less than 8 individual capitalists were to have human rights, and by human rights I mean food, housing, clean water, education, and democratic rights too. The right to elect and control a government. If that were the condition of working class people around the world, you could not have 8 billionaires who own more. It's inconsistent. I hope you saw it. There was recently an editorial, an op-ed piece in the New York Times that said capitalism and human rights are incompatible. That's true. That's a really big thing that we need to be aware of, because as we fight for human rights, if we have any chance of winning for the rights of these workers in India, for the rights of the 2 million people who are imprisoned in this country, for the rights of children not to be bombed and chemical weapons poured on them in Syria, for the rights of Egyptian workers not to be imprisoned for protesting their autocratic, dictatorial, friend of Trump government. If we are to have those rights, we cannot have capitalism. Workers of the world, unite against capitalism. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Thinking about when the brother from India was talking about the working conditions, and you know, we had chattel slavery in this country. It was formed with chattel slavery at its base, and capitalism thrived in this country because of that. and expanded because of that. And so they had a way of dealing with runaway slaves. It was called lynching. Kill the runaway slave. So here you have a situation in India where they're dealing with workers who are standing up for their rights to throw them in prison for life. It's not much of a difference, really, at all, between what this country did to the chattel slaves and what the Indian government is trying to do to the working people fighting for their rights. So I'll certainly agree with our last speaker. Without a struggle against capitalism and to overthrow capitalism and place workers in power, we're going to continue to go down the drain. This is similar. We're in a position right now, when the Dred Scott decision was passed down back in the 1850s, where a black man had no rights that a white man have to honor. And that's the consideration that people in this country have today as far as capitalism has the right to do anything it wants to do. So it's getting to that point. And so we had to have a civil war to change that situation and eliminate chattel slavery. We need another civil war to finish the civil war, where the people that produce the wealth control that wealth. And it's going to take a civil war in this country because these bastards won't let go.
I just want to say the fight for the liberation, for the freedom of these workers must involve everyone, no matter what point of view they might have on this or that question. We feel fervently, and I solidarize with all the statements that have been made here about the nature of this attack and the origin in the capitalist profit motive that puts profits over lives and that seeks to dismantle, destroy workers' unions and their rights. What's important today is that this movement to free the Maruti Suzuki workers is growing. It's growing internationally. It's embracing unions and others which up to now have been sitting on their hands and are now pushed into action by the mobilizations of the Indian workers themselves. After the death sentence was issued, despite Law 104 in India, which bans protests, bans solidarity protests, 30,000 workers refused to work. They downed their tools. 100,000 then organized boycotts and protests in the Gurgaon area. Today in India, the unions organized, and this was bottom up. It was from the ranks that propelled this, actions across in more than, as we heard from our brother, in more than 56 cities in all states across India. There is a growing movement. We have to pledge that we will continue to be here, to continue to demand the freedom of these. And for us, that struggle is bound up with a struggle against capitalism, against for democratic rights, for workers' rights, for the unfettered rights of workers to be able to fight for their interests at all levels.
Free the workers now! Free the workers now! Free the workers now! Free the workers now! Free the workers now!